Hey guys, Zoose here. So here we have a mid Neeko page with the major rune as Electrocute. Now this page is going to involve more of a playmaking, and if you want to go for more of a poke mage style, I've made an arcane comment rune page and video for that, so check that out. But for this one, we're going to go for more of a playmaking, getting a bit closer, but a very interesting build. Here is a cheat sheet if you want to test this out right now. Let's get right into all the details. So the major rune is Electrocute, and we want to go with hitting out two abilities, which is your Q and your E, and you want to follow with an auto. Now, Neeko has a third auto, which does extra damage, kind of like a Lichbane proc. So we want to play around that. We want to play around that extra auto, which is going to pretty much burst, especially with his Electrocute. Going to do a lot of burst damage, and that's kind of the build we're going for, which is why we've taken Electrocute. You could probably also take Dark Harvest, but it's getting a nerf, so we'll have to see which champs are really optimal with Dark Harvest, because it's gonna be a big difference, because I think they nerfed it about half the power that it has right now. The first minor rune is a Cheap Shot. Now, hitting your root is going to activate this, and then just hitting a Q or an auto attack will proc this damage. Taste of Blood is another option here, but we're not going for so much sustain. We're going for as much damage as we can, involving all of our skills. So this is probably better with our arcane comment page that we made before. So if you want to go with a more sustain in lane, go for that page. Eyeball Collection. Now, I did say we're going to go for more kills with this one. We're going to get into more risky positions, and so Eyeball Collection is going to reward us for any takedowns we get, assists or kills. And the final rune is Ravenous Hunter. Now, I did mention that sustain is not a big deal, but this rune is just one of the best at the moment. I would also highly recommend Ingenious Hunter. We're going to pick up a lot of actives, and so we're going to make use of this rune too. These two are both fine. I think they're almost as equal, but just because Ravenous Hunter is just one of those runes that's just so strong at the moment. Relentless Hunter is another option here, and you can definitely use that movement speed, as well as Ultimate Hunter. So out of all these four runes, they're all pretty viable, to be honest. Even the ultimate. Her ultimate is what's going to make her one of the strongest in the game. If you can get good ultimates, I still feel like out of all these runes, no matter how good they all sound, Ravenous Hunter is just in the best spot right now, so I'm going to go with that. From the sorcery page, we want to take Transcendence. Now, with this build, we're going to build a lot of CDR, and so we're going to make use of everything here. So this is just one of those runes that makes sense with the build. And Gathering Storm as the final rune. Again, a very consistent rune, one of the strongest at the moment, and it kind of guarantees you a late game spike, at least at the 30-minute mark, which is what most games go to. I would say in between 20 and 30 minutes on most games, so this is still going to be good even at 20 minutes. Moving on to items, we have Doran's Ring and 2 health pots to start the lane. Now, Doran's Ring is a pretty safe and reliable start. It's got a bit of health, AP and mana, as well as helping you last hit with that extra 5 damage to last hit minion. Now, I want to mention here that Corruption Potion is a very good start as well, especially if you're up against someone who is a melee, and maybe you can get a lot of auto attacks in, because once this starts ticking and you get those extra attacks with that burn, it's actually going to build up to a lot of damage. So keep that in mind. Depending on what kind of lane you're up against, this could be the best purchase. Quickly going to mention the Dark Seal as a second buy after you've based. Perhaps you've gone in for an early base, you pushed your lane, or whatever the case is. Perhaps you had a hard lane. You can always get this, and this will help you out throughout the laning phase as well. So the first major buy you're going to make is the Hextech Proto Belt. Now this in itself has a small dash as well as a little burst of damage. It's also got a great build path, which is the Hextech Revolver, which empowers an auto as well as give you some AP. The second item for that build path is also Kindle Gem with that health and cooldown reduction. Both items are pretty reasonably priced. It's a pretty cheap buy for one of the first items in the game. Sork Boots as your second item. The magic pen you get from this and movement speed, just a simple good choice here. So as I mentioned, we're going to get pretty close with this build, and Lichbane is perfect for that. The AP, the movement speed, and the cooldown, and the passive, which is pretty much an empowered auto. Now it's going to be pretty easy to proc once you've kind of dived in with either your W and maybe your Proto Belt. You're going to be much closer to be able to auto, and that Lichbane proc is going to come off. Now I would say the success to using these two items is hitting a root. Your root is your longest range. If you can hit that, and then, you know, follow up with a Q, move up to them and auto them, and maybe Hextech Proto Belt damage as well, it's gonna add up and it's gonna chunk them for quite a lot of bursts in this sort of combo. Fourth item is Zonya's Hourglass. Again, that CDR is gonna make use of with Transcendence. You're probably gonna hit about 40% CDR, so you're gonna be able to spam your Qs and your Es. If you hit any roots, you can always go in maybe for an ultimate or just for a little bit of poke and burst. Okay, so the fifth item is an interesting one, and that is Spellbinder. So we've gone for a third active item here, and this is another playmaking item we can make with Neeko. That boost of movement speed and AP this provides is going to really surprise enemies, especially if you hit that root. The key is to hit in your root, following up with Qs and autos, and even the Proto Belt active. Sixth item here is Void Staff. This is generally one of the better items once everyone starts building MR. If you're in a situation where MR isn't a problem, then you can go straight to Rabadons. It's a bit of an awkward buy. You're going to be sitting on about maybe 2,000 gold with one large rod. But if you can get to that stage, perhaps you're snowballing, you can always pick this up even, before the Spellbinder. And this is just going to amplify everything you've got already. You'll be one-shotting everything with this. So situational items are Mercury Treads. Of course, if they do have a lot of AP, they're stacked AP, and they've got a lot of CC, this is always an option and would be one of the better ones for that situation. Ninja Tab Eyes, of course, if it's all AD. The amount this blocks from auto attacks is so good. Now I've added Morello Nomicon as the final item. Now this could have been bought at any time, especially if the enemy team has a lot of healing, a lot of sustain, and perhaps lifesteal, and this is going to help out with that. So use your judgment if they do have it, and this is always a great buy. It's a pretty good build as well, good build path. I would recommend this. This build is heavily focused on playmaking. The first 5 items, including the Protobelt, Lichbane, Zonya's, and Spellbinder, all have some playmaking potential. As well as Neeko's kit, using these items, there's endless options for playmaking, especially with her passive, transforming into a jungler or a top laner and coming out of nowhere. Opponents are just not going to know what's happening, so keep that in mind. Use everything she has, including her W, to juke, plus these items, and you've got an endless combo of different plays that you can make. This build is definitely way more interesting and fun in my opinion compared to the mage one, but again a little bit riskier, so perhaps a little bit more experience will help you make this build work better than the other. I will be making a video on Zoe's just basic strategy and gameplay, and I go into more detail about specifics about her kit, so if you're interested in that, check that out. See you guys in the next video.